Welcome to the video. Before we begin, if not already, please take a moment to subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. And click the bell icon to receive notifications when I upload. Comment your little heart out. And most of all, please enjoy. Now back to the video. Like many people my age, I grew up on Japanese monster movies and TV shows, like Ultraman, Gamera, Mothra, but my absolute favorite was Godzilla. There's something so charming about the concept of a giant beast stomping cities flat and fighting other giant beasts. The humans were always the least interesting part, but their names weren't in the title, were they? Sometimes silly, sometimes goofy, Godzilla was still the greatest. So what if he looked like a guy in a suit? So what if the buildings were made out of balsa wood? So what if the army tanks were models and fireworks? He was real enough to us. He was truly king of the monsters. But what happens with almost every great Japanese creation? The inevitable American remake. Results may vary. But in the hands of the filmmakers behind Independence Day, should have been a home run. They know large-scale destruction and quirky characters. That's important in a Godzilla movie, right? This is Godzilla. We open with a montage of nuclear tests in the Pacific, and looks like we're sticking with the lore, so good start. We start in the South Pacific on board a massive fishing vessel, which is essentially a giant sushi factory. This could have been a hint of Godzilla fighting another monster later in the movie, but no, he's just a guy watching sumo. But you have a boat loaded with Godzilla's favorite food. You may as well ring a dinner bell. Godzilla wrecks the ship, eats the fish, and leaves one survivor. Who keeps letting Matthew Broderick drive? This is Dr. Nico Tatopoulos, scientist, worm enthusiast, named after Patrick Tatopoulos, this Godzilla's designer and supervisor. So he must have some pull with the screenwriter. Farm-raised pasta. Before he can get a pot of water boiling, the US Army picks him up to consult on the attack from the beginning. So screw worm research. They take him to where the ship washed up and shows Godzilla's massive footprints. You know what they say about big feet.
He would have an enormous Schwanzstücke.
He's as surprised as everyone else, so he's a big help. Oh, and Vicki Lewis is another scientist who looks like she wants to have his baby for some reason. They just met. We switch over to Audrey Timmons in New York. She's going to work carrying her groceries. She's carrying groceries in a paper bag, French bread poking out, and she didn't drop the bag? We don't even get our shot of oranges rolling all over the place? So are we going to start ignoring all the tropes now? She's trying to become a real reporter. So instead, she works for a lech of a newscaster.
I'm Kent Brockman.
What do you think would have done this?
The French are also investigating the attack. You can relax. He's a professional. Audrey's friends tell her she's too nice to be a field reporter.
It's dog eat dog. You gotta be a killer to get ahead.
I mean, look at her. She's like Bambi with a perm. And she used to date Nico, but they ended badly. So we're gonna get that will they won't they get together thing. Who cares? Godzilla finally appears in New York. Hell of a swim from the Pacific. Yeah, why New York? Is this like the one city he could blend in with everyone? His grand entrance. This is what we're here for. Stomping on cars, people running screaming. Some of these effects are a little, rough around the edges. And the cheapest of cheap shots, Siskel and Ebert gave the filmmakers' last movie, Independence Day, 2 thumbs down. So in response, they put in 2 characters that kinda sorta look like them and made them bumbling fools. They don't get eaten or stomped or anything, they're just idiots.
That showed him.
Roland Emmerich, if you're watching, if you want to put a character based on me in your movie, I would like to be played by Michael Cera, just to f*** with the audience. Remember when Jurassic Park shook a little plastic cup with water? Well, Godzilla shakes cars, but for some reason not people as much. Look out, it's 9:10. Audrey's really throwing Lolita vibes here. I'm a little uncomfortable. How does she manage to play this character like a 30-year-old, 12-year-old? Hank Azaria is Animal, a news cameraman and friend of Audrey. When Godzilla shows up, he tries to get footage, and he does. Good thing it's raining because I'm pretty sure he pissed himself.
Where is he now? We lost sight of it, sir.
I know New York is pretty big, but how do you lose track of this? So do insurance companies cover themselves? Do they ever deny their own claims and complain about it? Apparently Godzilla's been hiding in the subways and sewers. If New York had that much extra space, you'd think they would be putting apartments down there. They can't find Godzilla, so they decide to set a trap and lure him out with fish.
That's a lot of fish.
Turns out, you really can get anything in New York. Until this point, we've only gotten glimpses, but now we get a good look at the big guy. What the hell is that? Tell me you've never seen Godzilla without saying you've never seen Godzilla.
It's Godzilla! It looks like Godzilla, but due to international copyright laws, it's not.
This isn't the Godzilla I grew up with. This is... Zilla. Whew, you know that's fishy. Speaking of fish, Zilla steps up to the buffet, and the military immediately starts shooting. And they do as much damage as Zilla. Godzilla would never run from a firefight, but Zilla just bolts. You know he's getting shot in the cloaca. Could this be atomic breath time? No, it's a fire flammable breath that isn't nearly as impressive. The military chases him with gunships, and they play hide and seek among the skyscrapers, forgetting that helicopters can climb higher than skyscrapers. They wreck the Chrysler building, and then they lose him. They think they have him cornered, so they blindly fire into this hole in a building, and this giant lizard still manages to sneak up behind them and destroys them. At least he got to eat. Lolita and Ferris have their reunion. They figure out Zilla's pregnant with a human pregnancy test.
He's pregnant.
Just go with it. Another big hint that he's pregnant, he would have ice cream with all that fish he's been eating. And then reporters got a report, so she steals a top secret videotape of what they learned so far. Because reporters in movies have to get the story no matter what. Meanwhile, they're still looking for Zilla, and Nico is convinced Zilla is either about to lay eggs or already did. So they need to find the nest, but of course, no one listens. But that greasy newscaster steals the tape and passes it off as his own story. And since this was a top secret tape left in his care, Nico is fired from the project.
You're officially off this project as of now.
Fine, get your own worms.
I trusted you.
Oh no, will they ever reunite? You know they will. Nico is recruited by the French. Maybe he can get them a decent cup of American coffee. France is trying to cover up the fact that their nuclear tests probably created Zilla. Maybe, but just in case. He can help them find the nest so they can make things right. To quote Ferris Bueller, shall we play a game? Oh, wait, that's the wrong movie. Audrey's sad now that she's just another movie reporter trope. Animal was spying on the French and also learned about the nest plan. So he grabs Audrey so she can get in on this and become a real news reporter.
Sergeant O'Neill, just call down for us, see.
They sneak through a military checkpoint with a pretty good Elvis impression.
Well, no, sir, I'm fine.
So they go looking underground. Zilla pops up and jumps in the East River, where submarines are waiting. I didn't know the East River was so deep. They shoot torpedoes at Zilla, hits one of their own, ouch.
Direct hit!
But Zilla is apparently destroyed. Runtime tells me no.
What's up there?
Nico and the French follow the trail to Madison Square Garden, where they find the nest loaded with a couple hundred eggs. Animal and Audrey also find the place. And of course, the eggs pick this exact time to start hatching. Mama! It's suggested Zilla is reproducing asexually. I suppose, because this is the alternative. So a bunch of them hatch, and our heroes get chased all over Madison Square Garden. Not all of the French team members make it. I'll be honest, I checked out at this point. I feel like I've seen this already. This isn't a Godzilla movie anymore, it's a Jurassic Park ripoff.
Still, we should run like it is Godzilla! Though it isn't.
These may as well be velociraptors. Our two groups finally cross paths, so now they can all run together. The babies are trapped in the garden, and if they get out, it would be bad. But the military doesn't even know they're here.
Broadcast right from in here.
So our heroes use the broadcast equipment at the garden to go live, and Audrey does the reporter thing and begs the military to please bomb these babies. Also, save Ferris. Madison Square Garden is completely destroyed, killing all the babies and further delaying Billy Joel's residency. Happy ending? Nope. Forgot this was a Godzilla movie, didn't you?
Though it isn't.
Zilla looks at her dead babies all over the place, and it's actually kind of sad. Of course, he's going to blame the 4 humans just standing among the corpses of his kids. It's a good time to run. They commandeer a taxicab, and Zilla chases them all over New York. Zilla, who's been outrunning attack helicopters, is suddenly having trouble keeping up with a yellow cab. This chase goes on for 7 minutes. I kind of checked out here. They finally lure him onto the Brooklyn Bridge, where he gets tangled in all the cables. And yet somehow the bridge doesn't collapse. A cargo ship taps a bridge and the whole thing comes down, but Godzilla's tap dancing on the Brooklyn Bridge and it stays up. Well, maybe they just don't make them like they used to. This lets the military hit him with missiles a few times, and it finally kills Zilla. He just wanted to eat some fish and raise a family. 2 thumbs down. See, back together. And I think they're gonna adopt Animal. But there's a single surviving egg, baiting a sequel that's thankfully not coming. And that was Godzilla, also known as Gino. Godzilla in name only. Godzilla owners Toho had several rules for his movies, mostly for his design, behavior, and origin. Godzilla can't eat people. He can stomp on them all day, but no eating. He has to be the only one of his kind. Born of nuclear energy. TriStar broke a lot of these rules. Godzilla isn't even close. That said, this creature design is pretty awesome. It looks badass, it's mean, deadly, pretty wicked looking, but he's just not Godzilla. Frankly, if they were to make this a parody, or even an homage that could stand on its own without trying to use the Godzilla name, it could have been a decent monster flick, along the lines of Cloverfield or Pacific Rim. But some filmmakers just have to do things their way, even with established and iconic elements. Gojira, using his real name now, was a literal force of nature, occasionally worshipped as a god, a protector of the balance of nature. Zilla is a big mutated animal and behaves as such. The human characters are cliché, two-dimensional, the usual disaster movie fodder. Directed by Roland Emmerich, this film has his signature large-scale destruction. Some CGI has not aged well. The practical effects, such as miniatures and explosions, are better and more tangible than the CGI.
That's a lot of fish.
He just doesn't feel like a lead in a disaster film. Unfortunately, many of the supporting characters come across as caricatures. The script struggles with trying to be funny and serious. The story meanders with subplots that add little to the main story. The film deviates so much from Godzilla lore, which enraged many fans. This is what he should sound like. Oh, that's the stuff. The pacing is uneven. The climaxes, yes, 2 of them, the baby Zilla chase and the final chase, just goes on forever with the same imagery repeating over and over. At these points, nothing felt real anymore, with no visceral sense of danger. Godzilla is 2 Bs. This movie disappointed me. For a movie that advertised size does matter, it delivers little. While it has visual spectacle and action, it struggles with pacing and character development. Fans of monster movies may find enjoyment in the destruction and chaos, but the film just doesn't belong in the Godzilla franchise. But they have been getting closer. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, the bell, you know, the usual YouTube stuff. This is theNewBee, and I'll see you later, kids. Toodles.
Thank you.